The Battle of Isandlwana, A Kingdom in Flames. Introduction, Dawn of Battle. Beneath the dawn of January 22nd, 1879, two armies faced each other across a quiet South African plain. The disciplined Zulu warriors stood on the slopes of Isandlwana, shields polished and chants ready, while the British in red coats were encamped below, confident and unfortified. Colonel Henry Pauline and his veteran soldiers prepared their Martini Henry rifles, sharing jokes and letters as if it were any ordinary morning. Yet this calm would prove deceptive. Before the sun passed high, the Zulus would unleash a victory that shocked the world. The Zulu Kingdom, warriors of a proud nation. Before the British arrived, the Zulu Kingdom had become Southern Africa's greatest power. Founded by the warrior King Shaka in the early 1800s, Zulu society revolved around cattle, ceremonies, and strict age-based regiments, amabutho, named after ancestral heroes. These regiments trained together from boyhood, praying at dawn and polishing shields each evening, bonding them like brothers in battle. By King Cetshwayo's time, those traditions were the heart of the nation's strength. Cetshwayo, a battle-hardened leader ruling from Ulundi, could muster tens of thousands of spearmen and had perfected the famous Horns of the Buffalo attack formation. His regiments carried only a few muskets, relying mostly on short stabbing spears, ikwa, and heavy cowhide shields, arms that required personal courage to wield. He even sent envoys to ask why the British were invading, though he secretly prepared for war. On the eve of battle, Cetshwayo prayed not for victory, but that he would be worthy if he died in battle. His warriors listened without question, ready to defend their homeland at dawn. The British Empire's shadow, pressures and ultimatums. In 1879, the British Empire was powerful and eager to consolidate its holdings in southern Africa. Sir Bartle Frere, Britain's High Commissioner, saw the independent Zulus as a barrier to confederation with the other colonies. In December 1878, Frere issued King Cetshwayo an ultimatum with impossible demands. The Zulu army must be disbanded, British agents placed in every kraal, and the king's power effectively nullified. Cetshwayo begged for time, but Frere set an immovable deadline of January 11, 1879. When the king did not agree to all terms, Britain declared war. The Colonial Office, though reluctant at first, gave Frere permission to invade Zululand, and Lieutenant General Lord Chelmsford was ordered to cross the border at once. Chelmsford's command, the march into Zululand. Chelmsford led one of Britain's largest colonial forces, about 16,000 men. He divided them into multiple columns. Chelmsford himself commanded the center column, which included the 24th Regiment of Foot, veteran infantry armed with new Martini Henry rifles, a squadron of colonial cavalry, the Natal Carbineers, and a detachment of Royal Artillery, 7-pounder field guns, and rockets. Some 2,500 poorly trained African auxiliaries, the Natal Native contingent, accompanied them. Other columns advanced from the coast and north to meet him. Beginning January 11, 1879, Chelmsford crossed the Tugela River into Zululand. He assumed the Zulus would avoid pitched battle until provoked. Marching steadily north along river valleys and camping each night, by January 21st, his forces were deep in Zululand, near the hill of Isandlwana. What Chelmsford did not know was that King Cetshwayo had already mobilized thousands of warriors and positioned them on the surrounding ridges. Into the lion's den, splitting the force. That evening, Chelmsford held a council of war at the forward camp near Isandlwana. Eager for action and frustrated by slow progress, he abruptly decided to take most of the force to scout eastward at dawn. Early on January 22nd, he rode off with about 2,500 men, the cavalry, most of the infantry companies, and 2 field guns, hoping to catch any Zulus on his flank. Left behind were roughly 1,300 infantry and 1 7-pounder gun under Colonel Henry Pauline, plus about 500 men under Colonel Anthony Durnford. Chelmsford's orders were clear: defend the camp and do not abandon it. This plan assumed the enemy would not dare attack while the main force was away. Pauline and Durnford posted a few sentries and settled in, still unaware of the trap closing around them. calm before the storm. On the morning of January 22nd, the British camp at Isandlwana was unnaturally quiet. Soldiers polished rifles, wrote letters, or ate breakfast, believing their advance had been routine so far. Colonel Pillane strode among them, and a bugler rehearsed a tune on nearby Conical Hill. Suddenly, just before 10 a.m., a mounted patrol raced in with urgent news. Lieutenant Raw burst into camp shouting, "Zulus! 10,000 of them on the ridge!" The alarm bugle sounded and Pillane immediately ordered everyone to form line. In minutes, the long line of redcoats was arranged across the plain, the two 7-pounder guns limbered up on the flanks, and the men braced for the attack. The horns strike. At about 10:30 a.m., the Zulu impi thundered down from the slopes of Isandlwana, raising their fierce war cry. The British artillery and infantry unleashed canister shot and disciplined rifle volleys, cutting down many attackers. For a tense moment, the defenders held their ground. Then the Zulus revealed the strength of their plan. Fresh waves surged around both flanks, the horns of the buffalo formation. Colonel Durnford, seeing the left horn sweeping behind him, led a cavalry charge to try to halt it. On the flanks, however, the Natal auxiliaries were soon overwhelmed and fled. Now the 24th Regiment's long line was being struck from behind as well as in front. Some soldiers knelt and fired until their rifles were too hot, then fixed bayonets when the spearmen closed to stabbing range. Others called out, "Form square!" but the ranks were already disrupted. In minutes, the orderly line of British infantry began to buckle under the relentless assault. The camp overrun. The British position collapsed into chaos. Zulu warriors poured through the broken ranks into the camp itself. Tents and wagons became cover for desperate last stands. Captain Russell's rocket crews struggled to fire their remaining rockets, but Zulus swarmed over the pits. Major Russell was killed near the launchers. Colonel Durnford, now badly wounded, gathered a few men on a rocky slope and fought on, firing revolvers and swinging sabers until a spear pierced his chest. Lieutenant Henry Curling, commanding the last surviving artillery crew, was one of only a few to escape. He later wrote that as he rode out, the camp was already in the possession of the enemy, who were killing our men as they ran. By about 12:45 p.m., the camp was completely overrun. No organized British resistance remained. Aftermath on the plain. When silence fell on the battlefield, Isandlwana was a scene of carnage. The British had lost about 1,300 men, including 54 of the officers, and nearly every company of the 24th Regiment was destroyed. Horses and oxen lay butchered, and rifles, uniforms, and personal letters were strewn in the grass. The Zulus had captured the 24th Regimental colors. The King's color would be saved later by 2 officers' sacrificial ride. The victory was complete, but at a heavy cost. Historians estimate roughly 1,000 to 2,000 Zulu warriors were killed, almost a fifth of their impi. King Cetshwayo publicly praised the warriors, but quietly lamented the losses. He reportedly told his chiefs they had struck a dagger into Britain, yet paid for it in their own blood. Voices of the Fallen, Survivor Accounts. Survivors' testimonies reveal the horror of that day. Lieutenant Curling, who escaped through the surrounding warriors, later wrote that when he finally fled to the riverbank, the camp was already in possession of the enemy, who were killing our men as they ran. Private William Brown of the 24th described hiding behind a rock with a comrade, unable to move until after nightfall. When they emerged, vultures were circling overhead. Zulu warriors interviewed afterward were struck by British bravery. One said, "They did not run. Many were struck down, but they fought side by side until they had no weapons. They died where they stood." Another Zulu recalled, "Those red soldiers shot, then waited, then shot again. They fell upon us fighting like lions." These voices from both sides would echo through history as a testament to bravery and the horror of battle. The battle's toll, aftermath of carnage. Isandlwana was Britain's worst defeat of the Victorian era. Of roughly 1,700 men of the center column engaged, about 1,357 were killed or mortally wounded. Entire companies vanished. Every senior officer in camp was dead or dying. Only a few junior officers survived. By contrast, the Zulu Impi, perhaps 20,000 strong, had lost on the order of 1,000 to 2,000 men. The shock halted Chelmsford's invasion in its tracks. Cut off and leaderless, his columns fell back to camps like Rorke's Drift and Helpmacar. In Britain and the colonies, news of the massacre caused panic. Newspapers ran sobering headlines and Parliament demanded answers. How had an empire's army been slaughtered by spearmen? Chelmsford took the blame in the public eye, and even Queen Victoria was informed of the catastrophe. Reinforcements immediately poured into Natal, fresh infantry, cavalry, and artillery, as settlers hurriedly built fortifications along the border. Humiliated, the British government was determined to redeem the honor of the flag, and within weeks, thousands of fresh troops were on their way to crush Zululand. Shockwaves and aftershocks, reaction in Britain and Zululand. In Britain, Isandlwana became a byword for a catastrophic blunder. Military historians and staff colleges studied the defeat, and future manuals warned officers, never underestimate an enemy or neglect basic defenses. The successor of the 24th Regiment, the Royal Regiment of Wales, and other units still commemorate January 22nd each year. In popular memory, however, the triumph at Rorke's Drift, fought hours later, overshadowed the disaster at Isandlwana. Lord Chelmsford's name remained tarnished by the day's events. In Zululand, the victory was celebrated but tempered by sorrow. Villagers lit fires in jubilation, and King Cetshwayo publicly praised the regiments that had fought well. Yet the king also counseled restraint. He forbade his warriors from crossing into Natal, aware that provoking Britain's full might would be dangerous. He sent envoys to Chelmsford offering negotiations, hoping to consolidate gains without unnecessary bloodshed. Chelmsford's reply was only more cannon fire. Both sides now knew the conflict would be even more fierce than before. Rorke's Drift and the war continues. The story of Zululand in 1879 did not end at Isandlwana. On the evening of January 22nd, the remaining Zulu warriors attacked Rorke's Drift, a small mission station a few miles west. About 150 British soldiers, under Lieutenants John Chard and Gonville Bromhead, held a hastily constructed redoubt. They endured wave after wave of Zulu assault through the night, rebuilding defenses as the walls were breached. By dawn, the Zulus withdrew, having suffered heavy casualties for themselves. Only 17 of the British were wounded. The defense of Rorke's Drift became a legend and earned 11 Victoria Crosses, a rare note of triumph for Britain's imperiled army. Chelmsford, however, remained focused on avenging the center column. In February and March, fresh regiments, guns, and colonial levies continued to arrive in Natal. By late March, he relieved the siege of Eshowe at the Battle of Isandlwana, and in April he defeated a large Zulu force at Kambula. Finally, on July 4, 1879, Chelmsford's army formed a massive square at the Battle of Ulundi. Rifled guns and rockets tore into the charging Impi, and the Zulu army was shattered. Cetshwayo's kraal, Gungunlovu, was burned. The king was captured in August, and Zululand was effectively conquered. In under 6 months, the British had turned their worst defeat into victory, though it was a very different war than what Chelmsford had imagined on the morning of Isandlwana. Legacy in Africa and Britain. Memory of Isandlwana. Isandlwana's legacy endures on both sides of the world. In Britain, it is taught as a cautionary tale. An empire's army was humbled by an underestimated foe. Military historians cite the battle to stress that even modern forces need basic defenses. After 1879, British troops in the field always fortified camps with wagons or trenches. Regiments carry the memory forward. The colors and standards they uphold recall those lost that day. In London's National Army Museum, paintings of Isandlwana hang as reminders. Yet among the public, the memory has often focused more on Rorke's Drift, the good story of the war, while Isandlwana became a solemn footnote. For the Zulu and South Africans, however, Isandlwana is remembered as the greatest victory of the Zulu people. The date is honored in song and ceremony. It is called Ubusuku Bemgungundlovu, the night of the great meeting, referring to the eve before triumph. In 1999, a memorial shaped like a traditional Zulu necklace, isikuba, was unveiled on the battlefield. Today, visitors can walk the plain at Isandlwana, see brass plaques at warrior graves, and view artifacts, spears, shields, rifles, in museums. Plaques at the site are written in both English and Zulu, reminding all that each soldier was someone's son or brother. By acknowledging the courage and sacrifice on both sides, Isandlwana has become a symbol of reflection and, for many, reconciliation. Lessons from Isandlwana. Underestimating the enemy. The British assumed the Zulus would flee before their firearms. Instead, the disciplined Zulu impi fought with courage and strategy. Isandlwana showed that technology and training meant little if one leaves flanks unguarded and camps unprepared. In later campaigns, the British never marched or camped without fortifications or secure lines. Tactical humility. After 1879, British commanders always dug defensive works, trenches or wagon loggers, when encamped. Chelmsford's mistake taught a clear lesson. Even an isolated colonial force must assume any enemy might attack at any time. Cultural respect. Zulu warriors fought according to their proud traditions. The battle forced many Britons to admit that native armies could defeat modern troops if underestimated. Respect for Zulu bravery and skill grew, even if grudgingly, in some military circles. Cost of victory. For the Zulus, triumph at Isandlwana reinforced their faith in their warfare. Yet it also provoked fierce retaliation. King Cetshwayo understood that a victorious battle would invite a larger British response. Indeed, Zululand later paid the price in the fall of Ulundi. Thus, the lesson was that even a great victory could lead to a much harsher sequel. Human courage. Above all, Isandlwana stands as a story of individual bravery on both sides. Soldiers fought in chaos with calm and discipline. The survivors' stories, British and Zulu alike, honor how men stood together under fire. Remembering them reminds us that history is not just battles and tactics, but people facing impossible choices. Reflecting on history, memory and legacy. Today, the quiet grasslands of Isandlwana stand as a silent classroom. The hills seem to hold the echoes of past battle cries, teaching us that pride and prejudice can be humbled in an instant. When we honor the redcoats and cowhide shields alike, we remember the courage each side displayed. On that January dawn in 1879, two very different worlds collided. The memory of that day endures. A lesson in the cost of war, a tribute to bravery, and a reminder that history's story is written by every person who stands on this land.